Good morning and welcome to Slam in the AM. It's the morning show where I talk about whatever on my mind or in the news in the world of video games or in today's case wrestling. It's no secret I'm a big wrestling fan named Slamantha for a reason. Go figure. There are baby pictures at my dad's house of me playing with an Ultimate Warrior toy. I was a tiny Hulkamaniac. That's kind of cringe now. Don't worry about it. But yeah, no, as far as back as I can remember, I was always at least passingly interested in wrestling, if not actively. At first, I didn't care about promotions, WCW, WWF, whatever was more interesting to me at the time is what I watched. A lot of times that was WCW because I gravitated heavily towards the likes of Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit. I think the fact that Chris Jericho's moveset was just named around an animal, the lion tamer, lion salt, really appealed to me. That's how little kids are, whatever. But eventually WCW was doing its too many people in the NWO I had no one to cheer for. Goldberg was beat by a cattle prod, and then there's a finger poke of doom, and I don't think I ever really watched WCW after a finger poke of doom. That's my last memory of actively watching it. I started to watch WWE with people like The Rock, heavily gravitated towards him. Eventually Jericho, again, that's going to be a common theme in this video, came over. And that's pretty much the promotion I watched up until now. In 1998, my father brought me, my brother, and my brother's friend to a live show where I did the Suck It, little 8-year-old me. My dad will never let me live that down. It's fine. Actually, I guess I was 7. That makes it even worse. I don't know if that's like bad or hilarious or some kind of combination of both of just like a little 7-year-old being like, suck it! I was actively a wrestling fan at that point until about 2005, 2006. The point where I stopped watching as much is Eddie Guerrero's death, sadly enough. At that point, I don't know, I was so like grief-stricken that like I couldn't really want to watch as much. Like I couldn't bring myself to it. It was too like painful, I guess. I mean, I tuned in every now and then, but then like people like Lita and Trish stopped wrestling, and at that point, like there wasn't that many women to watch. Big drawback to me. What can I say? They started to push big meaty men. There's the whole Muhammad Hassan situation, made me super uncomfortable, and just it started to be phased out of things I watched. Chris Benoit situation, just complete nail in the coffin for me watching wrestling. That might have been a bad figure of speech. Eventually, I went to college, met some friends who were still really into wrestling, and I was introduced to the idea of NXT. I was introduced to the likes of AJ Lee and Paige, 2 wrestlers who just I was instantly gravitated towards. And I started to get back into wrestling, and then I started to see people like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, and like these are wrestlers I'm just drawn to immediately. There's something about them, I just really like them. What can I say? So I started to watch WWE again. I started to watch a lot of NXT. I actually was interested in wrestling enough to a point where I actually went to wrestling school. It didn't last very long. I'm not particularly athletic. I hurt myself, got out of it. You live and learn, right? And sometimes get concussions. It's fine. It's fine. So I was watching WWE for a while again, and most of the people I liked in NXT started to be called up to the main roster. This included people like Kevin Owens, Finn Balor, Shinsuke Nakamura, Asuka. I even had a network subscription at this point. Like I was in, right? Then they started to WWE it up. They started to do what they do and just poorly book people I liked. Sami Zayn loses a lot more than he wins. Nakamura and Asuka both won the Rumble and then lost at WrestleMania on the same night. That was weird that both Rumble winners lost. They started to have Asuka lose to Carmella, but not even really losing to Carmella. She was losing to James Ellsworth. That is literally the last straw for me, and I unsubscribe from the network. Like at that point, start to just phase out WWE again, right? Like I had passing interest. I would watch like recaps on YouTube, right? That's I still do. Every single day I watch recaps. Wrestling with Regret, Cultaholics, What Culture, that kind of thing, right? But eventually, Jericho versus Kenny Omega happened. Again, Jericho's going to be a recurring theme in this video. And I got right back into it. I thought it was the funniest match I've seen in a while. I loved it. And not long after that, All Elite was a thing. And they got Chris Jericho and the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley and all sorts of wrestlers I liked and was, gravitating towards. And that is happening more and more every week, it feels. They're getting more and more wrestlers. So I'm like, I like that guy. I like this guy. I like that guy. I like this person. And I'm loving it. This is a very good time for me. This is a very good time for a lot of wrestling fans. And on them getting a lot of new people, there was news last night that Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn's contracts are both running up for WWE. And that is huge. And Kevin Owens changing his Twitter location to almost there, posting coordinates for Mount Rushmore, a stable he had in PWG with the Young Bucks and Adam Cole. And both Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens kind of in a weird position. I don't think either are going to become champion anytime soon because of a whole Saudi Arabia deal and them not wanting to work there, and they can't really have their biggest, most lucrative show without champions, so I don't think they're going to be touching that anytime soon. And this just leads to the idea of what if Kevin Steen and El Generico showed up on Dynamite? And that leads to me thinking, what will Kevin Steen and El Generico do on Dynamite? And recently, All Out was a couple days ago, right? And MJF and Jericho had the if Jericho loses, he retires stipulation. And I'm just thinking, what? Eventually Jericho's going to retire, right? It's going to happen one day. And who's going to do it? I thought that was actually going to be it for him. Like, he has a Fozzy tour coming up. It seemed like the time was right, and MJF would have been a good person to do it. But if it's not MJF, who should it be? Kevin Steen. Just go right back to their feud in WWE. Just pick up where they left off, and he's kind of the perfect person to do it. And I mean, but you think of wrestlers in their last matches, and you want to see who they're against, and I can't think of anyone better for him to go out against than Kevin Steen. But what do you guys think? Are you excited for the possibility of Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens showing up on AEW? Leave your comments below. Leave your thoughts. Have a good day. See you tomorrow.